My youngest daughter, Lindsay, is a senior in high school, and she is in the very final stages of deciding where she's going to go to college. She's made several college visits, and we've gotten the tours, and we've gotten the sales pitch, and we've gotten the financial aid package, and we've met with the coach of the cross-country and running teams, and we've met with the players, and we've sat down, and they have offered athletic scholarships as well. And there are two schools in particular that Lindsay has gone through that she's both been very much impressed by. And with all of the scholarships and whatnot, actually can make it work. And now she's got this dilemma. Where am I going to go to school? Because I can't go to two places. So where am I going to go? Where am I going to put my hope? That it's the best place for the best education, the best spiritual environment, the best athletic training so that I can reach my athletic potential. Where am I going to put my hope for being trained and mentored for the next step of my life? She's got to make a choice. And she's got to somehow listen to the sales pitches and the advantages of both and decide one or the other, because she can't go to both. And right now she's going, where we're going to put my hope. Because I will never really know until I get there. Right? Well, God and money kind of come, and they both give us a little bit of a sales pitch. And they both offer to give us a substantial life. And until we actually get into one or the other, and we can only get into one at a time until we get into one other, we won't really know. So we've got to decide, where am I going to put my hope for the best life possible? And here Scripture is saying, look, put your hope in God, not money. Do the things that He would compel you to do, not what money would compel you to do. Be willing to sacrifice money for God, and not God for money, because God promises that He will deliver. And I'm just wondering, as rich Americans, rich when it comes to the whole world, where are we putting our hope for the best life? Are we putting it in money, things, stuff? Or God? It's interesting, this passage of Scripture in 1 Timothy, it sort of spells out for us what happens or what it looks like if we've actually got our hope in God. Because I don't know, if you're like me, I can say my hope is in God, but I live like my hope is in money. And so God says, well, look, here, if your hope is really in me, then here's kind of how you know. And here is how you know. First, if our hope is really in God, we will spend money ethically. It says, command those, who are rich to put their hope in God and not money. Then it says, do this. For these people to do good. And the idea is, make the morally ethical choice. When it comes to the way we spend our money, how much we spend on what we buy, are we considering, given how much we have and how little other people have, are we doing the moral thing and the ethical thing by spending money on what we're spending money on and the amount of money that we're spending on the things that we buy? Are we spending money in an ethical way, given the fact that we have so much and others have so little? I have just heard this last week, that it has been estimated by global scholars that in order to fix the basic physical problems of our world, for people to have a decent diet, clean water, nutritional needs met, and basic education. Do you know how much it would cost to fix that around the world? $20 billion. Sound like a lot of money? $20 billion is what Americans spend every year on ice cream. It's like in 1 year, for America would say, no ice cream. Instead, we're going to give the money to help the needs of the world. In 1 year, most of the physical problems could be addressed and fixed. Do we spend money in a moral, in an ethical way? The amount we spend for what we do, what we choose to spend our money on. And that does not mean mean that we cannot have nice things. It means that if we really are putting our hope in God, we're saying, okay, now you know what? What do I actually need? And am I making an ethical financial choice given that I have so much and so many have so little? Here's another indicator of whether we really put our hope in God and not money. We will use our wealth to help fix the world's brokenness. Because it said that we're commanded to do good, to do good, and then it says to be rich in good deeds. Now, the people who first received this letter, which was written about 65 AD, a long time ago, when they saw the little phrase "good deeds," instantly their mind went, "Oh, we know exactly what you're talking about." See, the ancient rabbis, they taught about something called the mitzvot. The word literally means obedient deeds. What they believed is this, that when we took the laws of God and we lived them out in relationship to other people, that those good deeds, those good works would bring healing and restoration to a broken world. That those acts of obeying God's commands, when it came to the poor and the needy and the marginalized and disadvantaged, that those good deeds are the very acts that God used to heal a world that was simply broken. You know what we're basically challenging you to do in Rakai? To be an agent of God to fix the brokenness in our world. Do you know what? I am convinced of it. As you and I decide to funnel just some of our resources, some of our time, some of our energy, some of our prayers, some of our money, okay, some of our relational capital and relational building in to the Rakai district. Through the glory of Christ Church and School. For the orphans and for education, everything else, that as we do that, that dominoes begin to topple. And that kids who would have died live. Kids who would have been illiterate have an education. The kids who would have been dependent grow up to be dependent, would have grown up to be responsible. That they would have the skills they need to be able to be a positive economic and social force in their country for change. That those very children would develop a connection with God that would give them a vision for the difference they could make in their world. And Uganda could change dramatically into a country that offers light and hope to the rest of the world. And it could happen because you and I just did mitzvot. We just did good deeds. We brought healing and brokenness to the rising generation. And it changed a culture, a country, and through them a world. This is what people do really have their hope in God and not in money. Here's the third sign: we'll be generous. You know, men, to do good, to be rich in good deeds, and to be generous. Do you know what it really means to be generous? It means that we give so much stuff away that it alters our lifestyle. That's when you know you've hit the level of generosity. That our lifestyle actually is built. In other words, it's not like, well, you know what? I gave some money to some missionaries, so I really can't go out for lunch today. That doesn't fall in that category. Now, that's a good thing, but it doesn't fall in the generosity category. Generosity is when we so routinely give away enough of what we have that it changes what our lifestyle actually looks like. And you know who set the pattern for this? A guy whose name was Jesus. It says in 2 Corinthians, the 8th chapter, that Jesus gave up so much that through his poverty, we could become wealthy.